education is number one, networking is number two, and you just want the ability just to open up doors and opportunities for yourself. And I always find that going to events like this is the perfect opportunity just to sit, learn, talk, and then you just have to execute. At the end of the day, it's about execution.
Welcome to the Idaho Real Estate Investor Show, where we bring strategies and knowledge that will help you succeed in Idaho's ever changing real estate market. I'm Jonna Weber. I'm an Idaho investor, realtor, and entrepreneur. I've been successfully investing for over 2 decades and helping countless others do the same. We'll bring you real stories from successful investors, expert advice, and insights to help you build generational wealth through the power of real estate. Whether you're just getting started or well on your way, let's jump in. Hey friends, just got off my interview with Ramez Fakhoury. He is truly a go-giver and expert when it comes to self-directed IRAs. So if you've got money sitting in an account, you're not sure how you can utilize that to fully experience the power of real estate, you're going to want to listen up. Without further ado, here is my interview with Ramez. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Idaho Real Estate Investing Show. Today we have a new friend that I've made that we're so excited to introduce you to. We've got Ramez here calling in from beautiful Chicago, Illinois on a very sweltery day. And we're so happy that he made the time to meet with us all because what I'm excited to chat through today is the idea, this possibility that people have to take an investment that's already sitting in some accounts and put it to better use through the power of my favorite vehicle, which is real estate. So, Ramez, welcome to the show today. We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. And yes, hot is an understatement. Let's just say it's 110 degrees. I'm finding ways to keep everybody cool here. Not to mention our AC is not 100% functioning the correct way. But no matter what, we're going to power through this, you and I. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we're cool and comfortable. It's a beautiful day in Boise, Idaho. So you should be here with us.
Jealous.
Yeah. Well, let's let the audience know because I know we haven't seen you at any of our Idaho Reen events and haven't had the opportunity to meet in person, though that's probably going to be happening very soon.
Yes.
And we want to hear a little bit about your background to set the audience up so that they know who they're listening from. I know you've been in this industry for about 8 years, correct? But take us how you got led into the field of self-directed IRAs.
No, what's funny is between us, I rarely talk about this. It's usually about every year to a year and a half that somebody just asks that question because nobody really cares about me, to be honest with you. I'm just kidding, by the way. But it's always funny how you make a career change. And I don't know if you ever seen the movie like Good Will Hunting with Matt Damon at
Mhm.
the end, where he says had to see about a girl. Well, this is kind of the same concept. They kind of made a career shift because of a girl that I was dating, and just to take a step back, I actually come from the real estate hospitality world. My family does as a whole. So, being of Lebanese and Jordanian descent, we focus a lot on our niche is actually people, and we talk more. My family in particular always talk about real estate being number one, and then the whole McDonald's model was the concept that I always followed. And what do I mean exactly? Is I
Yeah.
actually am a sommelier by trade. So, being a Somm, I opened up wine bars and then I actually started dating a girl and just so happened to be working at the IRA Club. Back when the IRA Club started back in 2008. So she's been there for a long time. And I actually went on the road with her and got to meet our president and founder, Dennis Blitz, at an event called Infinity. And what's funny is it was in Las Vegas, and me being from the hospitality world, my best friend was opening up a restaurant, and I told him I was going to be there for the grand opening. What's funny is I never left the event. Why? I was so intrigued on the presenters, in particular, one of them being Dennis Blitz, again, our president and founder, and how he talked about retirement. Let's say back 30, 31 years old. You always think, how do I make money now? You never think about the future or longevity or the longevity of how to take care of your family or generational wealth, as we like to call it. And once I sat down and I listened to him talk about this concept called self-directed retirement accounts, I started reading his books. So he, believe it or not, is the author and the gentleman who wrote the text and test for your securities license. So your series 3, 6, 7, 63, 65. basically started reading his books, watching his YouTube videos, and understanding this, talking about, again, maybe 12, 13 years ago, this concept called self direction, which in term is just a marketing way that we say control, right? And I actually had a 401k with you might know them because I know you visited Chicago every once in a while. It's a restaurant group called Let Us Entertain You. And
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I used to work for them. So I actually had a small 401k plan, not much in it, just under 40,000. And I bought a parking spot with it after reading Dennis's books and watching his YouTube video. So it was with Vanguard, opened up an IRA account here at the IRA Club, which this girl at the time that I was dating moved the money over from Vanguard over to the IRA Club, and then bought a parking spot. Because as I just mentioned to you right before we jumped on the show, I actually live across the street from Millennium Park. And what don't we have across the street from Millennium Park is parking.
Parking.
Parking. So I used my Roth IRA account at that time to buy my very first parking spot. Fast forward to today, I have a total number 7. I'm at number 7. And by the way, that girl that I was dating is not my wife,
I was wondering.
and is now my wife. So expecting my second, but that is how I got started in the industry.
Oh, that's so cool. Hey, Idaho investors, here's a stat that might surprise you. Over 70% of successful real estate investors say their best deals didn't come from the MLS or from a cold online lead. They came through their network. So if you're serious about growing your portfolio, it's time to get in the right room. Join Idaho REIN, the Idaho Real Estate Investor Network, an affiliate of the National RIA. We're here to inspire, connect, and equip you to build real wealth through real estate. Success doesn't happen in isolation. Get in the room where it's happening. Visit idahorein.com and join us today.
Is that
And
funny? Yeah.
parking spots, parking's becoming a premium here in Boise, but I remember being in Chicago, gosh, 20 years ago and being appalled at the parking costs downtown Chicago. So very smart move. Well, a lot of our listeners and friends of mine are in that bucket where I would consider them high income earning.
Mhm.
They've got assets sitting in accounts and can you kind of dumb it down for us? Like, what's a
Absolutely.
self-directed IRA and why should people care about that?
Okay, I'll make it as simple and K through 8 as best as I can. And that question comes up often.
Sure.
Who is the IRA Club? And the best analogy that I could always give is many of you that are listening may have a 401k, IRA, HSA, 403b, 457, or any qualified retirement account. And the majority of those accounts sit with the big three, as I like to call them. They're the titans of our industry, which is Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab. Believe it or not, they probably control just under 65% of all qualified retirement accounts. Fidelity being number one at 33%. So the reasons why I bring that to your attention is many of you that have those retirement accounts, right? In particular, if you're an employer with a 401k, you sit within stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. That is what your retirement account is invested in. Now, IRA Club, think of us in the same light as you do Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab, right? They're a custodian, a trust company, just as we are here at the IRA Club. But the differences are going to be not only do I let you invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs, because we do have that availability for you, but we give you the flexibility to invest in alternative assets like real estate, land, syndications, private equity deals, crypto, anything your heart desires. Okay. There's only one catch. I can't choose the investment for you. The term self direction means control. I'm taking the control away from Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab, and I give it back to you, right? To invest in what you know and understand best. Now, I want to say something, so be careful because Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, or one of these other 10,000 brokerage firms that are out there are now kind of starting to, I hate to say this, adopt our terminology, in particular, self direction. So, if you ever, for example, you just said you have a lot of high net worth individuals, capital raisers, but somebody was interested in potentially using their retirement dollars to invest, and you were to walk up, let's say, to Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab and say, I would like to use a portion of my retirement dollars to invest, let's say, in this house on 123 Green Street. Well, Fidelity is going to say, you can't do that. But here's another pool of investments that you could be looking into and self-direct. That is not true self-direction in our eyes, okay? So
Right.
be careful with the terminology and what you hear on the internet because they're not going to let you do basically anything that you want. There's only, I don't know if you know this, but there's only three things you cannot use your retirement dollars to invest in, which is collectibles. So that antique car, that expensive bottle of wine, an S corp, and you cannot use your retirement dollars to invest in your own life insurance policy. Outside of that, everything else is fair game. Hope that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I'm a realtor as well. That's been a part of my background, and I've worked with several individuals that have bought and sold within their self-directed IRAs. And interestingly enough, or maybe not interestingly, but I have never done that myself and taken advantage of it. So it's really interesting. So you
What?
educate me too today. And because one of the things that I think has held a lot of people back is trying to understand what the true advantages are. Is it mainly that they have more control and potentially have greater returns?
I always say it's really fourfold for me.
Okay.
It's the really the flexibility, okay? To take control of your retirement dollars to invest in asset classes outside of like what like historically when you think, right? When you think of your 401ks, right? Your in particular your employer 401ks. And you remember this whole saying when we were growing up, go to school, get a job, open up a 401k, take the employer match. That
Yeah.
does that doesn't work anymore, okay?
Right.
Why? Because if you look at things decade by decade, like every 10 years, knowing that you can't touch your retirement dollars until you're 59 and a half, because that's when you're eligible to touch it. Look at the returns. Look at the historical returns. If you're looking at the last 20 years, the stock market's giving you roughly between 7 to 8% returns on your money. So if you look at real estate, for example, because that's what we're educating ourselves on, if you look at the past 20 years, the S&P 500 has given you about 326% returns on your money versus real estate has given you 2100% returns on your money. So all I kind of try to explain to people is don't you think it's just as important to diversify not only your personal dollars, but your retirement dollars in the same manner? Because the beauty of it is when you use your retirement dollars to invest, it grows tax free or tax deferred. So when somebody talks about like a rate of return or ROI of, let's say, 10%, well, don't forget, you got to pay taxes on that. So it's not really a 10% rate of return. It is
Right.
still like a 7 or 8, but when you use a traditional and or Roth, it's more like a 12 or 14% return or 16% return. Obviously, it depends on how much you're investing and the time frame that you're working with. But when you eliminate Uncle Sam, who eats away about 35 to 40% of what you make in your lifetime, that is how you accelerate your growth inside a retirement account. So always think in my eyes, in my head, I'm always thinking when I talk to people and educate people, you gotta think double digit returns inside your retirement account. Otherwise, I promise you, you're gonna work forever. Okay. Because today, now more than ever, everything's working against your retirement account. Think about this. Markets are very, very volatile right now. God knows what Trump's going to say tomorrow, and they'll take a dip or shoot another 5%. Oh, you don't know.
Yeah.
We know that taxes will never be cheaper than where they're at currently, although there's a slight uptick, not by much. We know that every single government program is working against you, meaning Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid is in complete shambles. In fact, our government has dished out over $2.2 trillion in almost the last 2 years, and those numbers are not sustainable. Not to mention pensions are no longer being offered. And then lastly, inflation, although was heading in the right direction, has now been a slight uptick. So remember, inflation works against your 401k, in particular when it's in the stock market. So if all of these things are working against your retirement account, what is the best course of action is to diversify into different alternative assets. You take control. And lastly, and I think this is one of the most important things that most people do not recognize, is fee structures. So
Mm.
IRA Club charges $195 per year to administer an IRA. versus most individuals. I'll tell you 68% of people that have employer 401ks don't realize this. They don't know where to find the fees within the contracts or within the 401k plan. There are ones in particular that will nitpick at your retirement account, like buy sell fees, 12b15 fees. I mean, there's a lot of them that are out there, but I kind of refer to them as termites, and they just nitpick at your retirement account. But they tack up to be traditionally, if you go Google this, it's about 2.27%. So think about that. Per $100,000 that you have inside of your 401k, they're taking roughly about $2,000 from you versus IRA Club is taking $195. And I don't care if you have 100,000, 500,000, or $1 million inside your IRA. But the question that always comes up is like, wait a second. If you're only charging $195, how does IRA Club make any money? Great question.
You read my mind.
You read your mind. And the answer is very simple. It's per investment. So each investment, let's say this is a house on 123 Green Street, we are
Mhm.
charging you an additional 195. If you jump, let's say, on a private equity deal or a syndication or a multifamily deal, that's an additional 195. If you do an oil and gas deal, 195. You want to do crypto, 195. So for us, we want you to diversify into different asset classes, or if you feel like real
Sure.
estate is it, that is how IRA Club makes its money. The average IRA Club client, full disclosure, has about just under three asset classes or three assets in particular inside of their IRA. So our business is basically built on volume, but keep in mind, drastically cheaper because we do not like percentage based models. So be careful of percentage based models. Flat fee models are always the way to go. Yeah, those are the reasons why, by
Yeah.
the way.
Okay.
I'm a huge advocate of the self-directed route.
I love that. And for someone that's investing like straight up rental properties, that's myself. Uh,
Yes.
is that almost like a dividend? If you're paying cash for a rental and you're getting that rent month after month, is that just going back into your retirement account
Great question. So
for
let's walk.
expenses?
Yeah, exactly. So let's walk through that actually.
Yeah.
So let's just say you have an IRA with Fidelity Bank or a old employer 401k, and actually
Sure.
drive that home. So if you're currently employed with a 401k, unfortunately, you're stuck. You
Right.
can't roll that money over to the IRA Club until you decide to leave your employer, if you're furloughed or you decide to quit or whatever it is. 30 days afterwards, then you could go ahead and roll those dollars over to us. However, and remind me to bring that back up to you, there are a couple loopholes in there, but let's go
Okay.
back to say you have an IRA account or an old employer, a 401k, 403b, 457, and you found this investment opportunity, this house on 123 Green Street, let's say. And let's just say it's valued at $250,000. Well, you can roll over your current IRA account with Fidelity over to the IRA Club. First step is to establish the account. That's step number one. Open your account. Why? Because we don't want to trigger a taxable event and we don't want to trigger a 10% penalty if you're under the age of 59 and a half. So we would open the account and our transfers team would basically issue out an IRA to IRA transfer. You get a welcome call. We basically are walking you through the next steps. Move the money over from Fidelity, let's say, over to the IRA Club. Next is you are going to work with our investments team basically to draw up the investment documentations, right? It is not you that's investing on the house on 123 Green Street. It is your IRA that's investing or is deeded to the name of the house. Okay. So typically the titling will go IRA Club, FBO, and the benefit of your first name, your last name, your IRA account number. Why do you want to do that? To not pay taxes on the cash flow. So you're not receiving the rental income. It goes back to your IRA Club account. And depending on the tax type, so traditional, if you have a traditional retirement account, then you will eventually pay taxes. And that happens one of two ways. After the age of 59 and a half, you could start pulling out distributions, or after the age of 72, referred to as the RMD, required minimum distribution. You are now going to be required to pull the money out, whether you like it or not. The IRS is going to want its money at some point. So
Right.
72 is that basically that threshold. That number, by the way, will go up by 33 to 73 years old. I'm sorry, 75 years old.
Okay.
So we're excited about that. And then lastly, if you have a Roth, I should mention that. Again,
Yeah.
very big on the Roth. Secured Act 2.0 has given a lot of Americans the ability to make direct contributions to a Roth. Very big deal. And if you basically contribute to a Roth, you're paying the taxes upfront on the
Hmm.
seed, and the growth, the capital gains for the rest of your life is tax free. So again, always try your best to think about doing Roth dollars at the end of the day, because especially if you're younger, if you're 20 or 30 or 40 years old, you have a little bit of time on your side. 40 years old, that's where I'm at right now. But usually they say by 60, 70, you might want to think about tax deferred, because we're trying at this point to accelerate. But at the end of the day, you're never too old to tell Uncle Sam to go kick rocks. So, because we are living a lot longer. The average American right now is living until about 79, 80.
Yay. Yeah, it's so true. My kids have Ross already and they're 22 and 24. And it's huge that power. We always sound like, you kids, you, if you we would have done what you should be doing. It's so critical though that time is on your side. Hey Idaho friends, if you're busy like me, you're always on the lookout for trusted professionals that can help you with your business, home, and investment needs. Whether it's a trusted lender, property manager, or a service provider that you're going to have come into your home or work on your investment property. There's always a need out there, and we want you to have great and trusted resources at the ready. In response to this, Idaho Reen has developed an exclusive vendor directory chock full of businesses that are ready to help our community. Head on over to idahoreen.com, grab your free copy today, and don't forget, let them know that Idaho Reen sent you. So to wrap up with the Roth, if someone's working right now and they are on the side contributing to a Roth every year, can they turn right around and put that into a self-directed IRA?
Right around. You could do it.
Okay.
Just so you always remember, all retirement accounts can be self-directed. Okay. All of them. That's where the misconception is. You got to understand that if Fidelity says you could self-direct with us, just as I said earlier, what they're saying is these are the only stocks that you could be picking from, or ETFs, or publicly traded REITs. Okay.
Mhm.
Self-direction has now become a loose term. And that's why we're trying more than ever. Our industry as a whole has been trying. There's not too many of us, by the way, that do what we do, meaning our trust companies, is because we don't have the marketing capital that Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab has. It's in the billions versus us is probably less than 5 million. But with that being said, our sole focus is to get the word out there, educate people on what's available to them. Exactly what you're basically doing, and we love you for it, by the way. So thank you for doing that and having us. But we want you to be able to not only teach yourself, right, but teach your family, your heirs, your friends on this strategy. And the more people, it's so funny. If you just said 5 years ago, if I was to ask somebody at an event of 1,000 people, how many here have ever heard of a self-directed retirement account? I would probably say 20 to 30% of people would raise their hand. Well, fast forward to today, that is completely flipped. I would tell you about 80% of people know what a self-directed retirement account is versus 20 have never heard of it. But then the next question I ask is, well, how many of you of the 80% actually self-direct? And that number is still less than 3%. So it dawned on,
Wow.
yeah, is that crazy? So, but then it dawned on me. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, you guys have this very powerful tool in front of you and the strategy that I'm teaching. And why are people not self directing? And the answer is very simple. They cannot identify the investment opportunity.
Right.
So, and that's always been our challenge. And that's why we do a lot of these educational events and webinars, just to get the word and teach people like what alternatives are out there and available to you.
Okay. And you mentioned that you already mentioned the 3 things you can't invest in, but if someone finds a really interesting, like, syndication opportunity, is
Yeah.
that something that's eligible?
100%.
Okay.
It is 100%. So I'm telling you, everything and anything is fair game to you. Outside of those 3 things that I mentioned earlier, collectibles, S corp, and your own life insurance policy. That's it.
Can you get a mortgage?
Okay,
Like,
great question.
about that,
That is a loaded question and could be
right?
another topic of discussion. The answer to your question is yes. So an IRA can take or can be borrowed against and can be leveraged. The issue and the problem is this: 99.9% of banks across the country do not like to leverage against a retirement account. That's one. There are a few lenders that we personally have dealt with and deal with at the IRA Club. Feel free to visit iraclub.com and click on list of vendors, and there's about 6 or 7 of them that are on there. But that's one. But two, if the bank allows you to leverage, it has to be structured as a non-recourse loan, which means you could only touch the asset. Okay. That's the reasons why. Now, if you do find a bank that makes it eligible for you, they typically want between 30 to 60% of the value of the home, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing that most people do not know is when you borrow against an IRA, or even a 401k, which I'll get to in a split second, is typically the interest rate is drastically higher. So I think today it's currently like at six. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you're in the real estate world. About 6.5%, so 6.25. Well, if you borrow against an IRA, it's more like 9, 10%. So it may not be worth it, is what I'm trying to say at the end of the day, like as far as returns on investment. So a strategy that we teach is partnering, so you don't have to leverage. So, for example, I talked about me owning parking spots inside of my IRA. Well, me and my wife own a couple parking spots together. How so? Let's say the parking spot, for simple mathematic terms, is $50,000. Well, you could take $25,000 from my Roth IRA and $25,000 from her IRA to partner to buy the asset outright and clean. All right. And the
I
other
like
reasons why,
that.
yeah, and the other reasons, oh, by my children, my youngest child, Ava Marie Fakhoury, is the youngest IRA Club client at 28 days old. She already owns 2 parking spots with me. So getting your kids involved in partnering is such a huge advantage and strategy that you should be thinking about doing to get them in the game earlier in life. As we just talked about, they have time on their side.
Right.
Unfortunately, we don't. So we always talk about compounding being the fourth wonder of the world. But then also, I want to take a step back and talk about solo 401ks. So why am I talking about a solo 401k? Because we talked about leveraging. Just
Right.
so everybody knows this, a solo 401k, if you qualify, and what are the qualifications? Very simple. You have to be the sole proprietor of an LLC, C Corp, or S Corp. Allows you to make larger contributions up to 23,500 versus the IRA's 7,000. If you're over the age of 50, a solo 401k allows you to put 30,500. And then we could set up something called a profit sharing plan, which allows you to put an additional 25% of the net earnings that your company is making up to $75,000. So that's huge.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a powerful advantage versus the IRAs only, they caps off at 8,000 if you're over the age of 50. The other thing that makes the solo 401k more powerful is another topic of discussion is you will not trigger something called UBIT, as some of you may have heard of this. When you leverage against, let's say, a real estate property, you're going to trigger something called UBIT or UDFI, which stands for unrelated debt financed income, which is what we were just talking about. So solo 401ks are exempt from that. So that's a really big and powerful tool. Not to mention, you could borrow up to $50,000 against your solo 401k at prime. Again, not something that we always talk about because it's hard enough to get money into these accounts. So we really don't want you to borrow against it if you don't. But I understand life happens. But what you may not realize is less than 10% of Americans qualify for that solo 401k. Because as I mentioned a split second ago, you have to be the sole proprietor, meaning you have to be self-employed. No,
Right.
no, no employees outside of you and your spouse. So that is a much better vehicle in my eyes. But again, you have to qualify for it.
Okay. And if you have a simple IRA?
So a simple IRA is for when you have W-2 employees. So we have another division of our company called IRA Club SBS, which stands for Small Business Solutions, where we can set up safe harbor 401ks or simple IRAs. But because we're focused on individuals, didn't
Okay.
really want to talk too much or jump into the simple IRA
Yeah.
because that is a totally different vehicle, which
Okay.
can
Yeah.
be some.
Totally side note. I
Yeah.
have a simple, so I was just curious.
Yeah. We have
So,
we have them here. All IRA Club employees have a simple IRA. And we do an employer match, so that's the
uh-huh.
catch. But the beauty of our simple IRAs are they can be self-directed into alternatives, not
Love it.
just the stock market. So uh,
Right.
that's what me and you talked about that a little bit. So
Yeah.
remember, as a broker dealer, because we do have that, you could do whatever makes you happy. In the
Well, This has been so fascinating. So, for those listening, what's the first step that someone should take if they've never done this and they want to start taking action on making this happen?
Great question. I would say visit IRAclub.com.
Okay.
And I would want you to do some research. Okay. I want you to educate yourself first and foremost. Okay. And then if you want, you could schedule a call with somebody from our onboarding team. As you all know, Mandy Drysdale, she's head of our onboarding department, but we have an entire team that she manages. And the reasons why we want to have that first sit down conversations, I hate to say this, most Americans don't even know what they have inside their retirement accounts. So we want to ensure that we're putting you in the right vehicle before you move forward. And
Right.
that's step number one. So it's sitting down, talking to our team. Then we'll establish the account right over the phone. It takes 8 to 10 minutes. The only thing that we're going to need from you is a government issued ID. I'm so sorry, government issued ID. So I did say that. Forgive me. Like a driver's license, a passport, a state ID. We're going to need to know your beneficiary's information. God forbid something happens to you. We want to make sure that we're able to pass this along to your next of kin or whoever it is that you deem to be the next in line in that vehicle. But and then lastly, why am I missing something? Oh, your social security number. I know you're laughing, but you'll be surprised how many times I see somebody knocked over, look at their wife and be like, I forgot my social security number. So as we open up these accounts at events, it's kind of funny. But those are the three things that we need to open up the account. Then what ends up happening is you're going to have a welcome call from an IRA club specialist. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the next process of funding your account. So there's only three ways that you could fund your account. Contribution. So you have to have earned income in order to make a contribution, which means active. So not passive. I get a lot of people, investors, they're like, oh, I just made this rental income and I want to throw it inside my IRA. No, that's passive income. So earned income, that's number one. Number two, the second way is to do an IRA to IRA transfer. All IRA accounts are eligible to be moved over to the IRA club. And then lastly, an old employer 401k. So if you're currently employed, I'm talking to you, I'm teaching you this. So at one point in your life, you're going to leave your job, right? And then you will be able or eligible to move that 401k over to the IRA club. Now, if you are
Right.
the age of 59 and a half, here's a little loophole. If you are over the age of 59 and a half, you will, we call it, you are eligible, forgive me, to touch your contribution limits. So you will be able to move that money over to the IRA club, but not the capital gains. Or if your employer is making a match, you will not be able to touch it if you're currently employed over the age of 59 and a half. So those are the three ways that you could fund your account. And lastly, the only step that I can't do for you is choose the investment. So
Right.
that actually, I would probably say that's the very first step is identify the investment opportunity, which should be the first step. And then opening and funding is very easy to us. It will
Okay, what's that time? I was gonna ask that because I think a lot of times we get faced with that. Oh my gosh, I really want to make this happen, but my funds are locked up in this account and I don't need the cash flow right away. All of that good stuff. What's the timeline from setup to investment ready?
set up is I told you 8 to 10 minutes it takes to open up.
Oh,
Up
but I mean to
now.
be able to fund it.
Yeah, to fund it. Now the funding, not all custodians are treated equal. I'm being respectful when I say that, by the way, because you and I both know the name of the game is to hold on to the money as long as humanly possible. So depending on what custodian we're dealing with, traditionally, if it's an IRA, it takes 7 to 10 business days. But if it's an old employer 401k, they won't talk to the IRA club. But my transfers team will sit on the phone to try help you walk you through that process. But
Okay.
that traditionally takes anywhere between 10 to 20 business days. So that's an old employer account. Now, some custodians move a lot faster than others. I'm just trying to keep it realistic. We've seen it done as fast as 2 days, but we've seen it stay as long as 2 months. But at the
I
end,
know they don't make it easy. I've done that myself, transferring between brokerage accounts, and a lot of times it's old fashioned, written in paper. Got to get it notarized.
all the
All the
good
good
stuff. They
stuff.
have some require a medallion stamp, and
Yeah.
some require like I'll send you out a check, and they do all these things for a reason. They're the longer they hold on to the money, the more money they make. I hate to say this on the float, but that's the name of the game. And also, if you're working with a fiduciary or an RIA, they will call. Typically, we see this happen all the time. They will call the client and say, why are you doing this? You can't do this, right? This is a prohibited transaction. They'll figure out ways through artificial restrictions to basically push them away from the deal that they're most interested in.
Yeah, for sure. Boy, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for this education. And
Absolutely.
one thing I don't want to get off this call without talking about, we are so thrilled to be, we're co-hosting, Idaho Rean is co-hosting with our mutual friend, Senate Eskridge, a statewide real estate investing conference this fall. And I know that we are looking forward to having you and representatives from the IRA Club there at that beautiful event we're having October 10th. Why do you think it's important if you're just a passive investor to get involved and show up something like that?
The truth is, you said it first and foremost, educating yourself, right? The ability for me, I say this to so many of my friends, clients, investors, IRA club members. It's all about networking first and foremost, right? Education is number one, networking is number two. And you just want the ability just to open up doors and opportunities for yourself. And I always find that going to events like this is the perfect opportunity just to sit, learn, talk, and then you just have to execute. At the end of the day, it's about execution. So
Right.
you get, like you said, there are some great people there. Senate is awesome. Love him. If he's listening, shout out to you, big buddy. And yeah, look forward to just educating you while I'm out there about this strategy that I hold near and dear to me and love talking about.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to meeting you in person, welcoming you to the great state of Idaho. And I really appreciate this. I learned some things myself today. And so I'm going to be taking a close look at everything that we have socked away and what our resources are there too. So much more we could cover, but I think we covered a lot of ground today and we'll continue the conversation. I appreciate it. I hope you get into some cool air conditioning. Stay in the cool air conditioning as you're in the sweltering, beautiful Chicago. And we'll welcome you to a beautiful day here in Boise.
And I look forward to hosting you if you ever come to Chicago. I know you got family out here in
Yep.
Palatine, where my wife's from, but look forward to seeing everybody there. And thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Okay, guys, have a great day.
Bye bye.
Appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for joining me here at the Idaho Real Estate Investors Show. I hope you're leaving with new insights and inspiration to help you truly grow wealth through real estate. If you enjoyed the show, do me a favor. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with those that can benefit from it. Go and grow, and I'll catch you on the next episode.